Hey, it's Brian, 360 Politics. Just jump right into the first story. Check out this map. This map here is going to give us a little bit better insights as to what's going on with this mineral deal with Ukraine, the United States, and why it's really important to the United States, it's important to this administration, and maybe at the end of the day, important to world peace to have the United States involved in this deal and also have that vested interest of the United States. Check out the map. The map has three very important things to take a look at. Orange stands for lithium. Purple stands for titanium and zirconium. And finally, the blue, we call it the light blue, it stands for rare earth metals. Now, take a look where the troop formations are currently. You have Russian forces, you have Ukrainian forces, and of course, you'll notice that if you take a closer look at the map, where these deposits are, it might give us a better indication of what the future of this mineral deal looks like, one, and secondly, and equally as important, where these new boundaries might be drawn. Finally, we know that if the United States carries through with this minerals deal, we know that the United States is going to have people on the ground inside of Ukraine. Whether they're executives, whether they're people who work in this industry, whether it's maybe military to support them, I don't have the answers. Those things will emerge as we continue to follow this story. But make sure we understand there is a bigger picture here. And what is Donald Trump's continued part of this story? He continues to speak about what we've done already and all the money we've given. And he's also acknowledged that the Ukrainians have fought valiantly with our equipment. But here's what Trump said to the British Prime Minister just the other day.
How warm do you think the reception for Zelensky will be when he comes to the White House tomorrow? As you mentioned, he's been pretty cold toward him, called him a dictator, said that he started the war in Ukraine. But now that this deal is reached, do you expect a warm reception?
Trump and Zelensky have had a complicated relationship, and certainly Trump is lauding Putin and Russia, questioning whether, who actually started this, saying it was actually Ukraine. That certainly has undermined any kind of connection that U.S. and Ukraine under Trump might have had. At the same time, Trump wants a deal, and Zelensky does as well, and is trying to keep the United States engaged in this process. And so I think you're going to try to see some warmer moments. Now, it's not going to be the warmest reception, of course, given the recent history now between these two men.
We've given him a lot of equipment and a lot of money, but they have fought very bravely, Trump said in a press conference with British Prime Minister Keir Starmer. So we know that Trump admires that effort the Ukrainians have put forth, and he also understands that our special relationship with Great Britain, we have very plain speaking with them. They get us, we get them, and of course, Starmer will also agree with Trump's interests and the interests of the United States, because at the end of the day, our relationships are super, super close with the British, and if needed, we would most definitely help the British in any kind of policies, any kind of negotiations, any kind of business deals moving forward. We're going to continue to follow this story. The next story is one that I found interesting, and I know my viewers will be finding this interesting as well. The United States, as fate would have it, has a secret drone program that's been used exclusively in tracking down Mexican drug cartel kingpins. The fact is, this was used to capture El Chapo, the Elder, and the reason why we want to bring this to your attention too, as tensions ratchet up with Mexico, including the upcoming tariffs, just understand there's already been a degree of cooperation between the two countries. Trump would like to see a whole heck of a lot more. He would like to see the Mexican government come in there and smash those cartels, and I'm quite certain he would do what he can and give the aid and make sure the United States helps put our thumb on this problem, because being based in Mexico enables the drones to spend more time over surveillance targets in the lush mountains of western Mexico that are home to the world's largest fentanyl smuggling organizations. So with that, just remember, These tariffs are going to ratchet up tensions between the United States and Mexico, and hopefully not ruin these types of privileges the United States is using to take out these drug cartels. I don't know what the future holds, but you can be assured that I will continue to cover this story because it does have a ton of interest for the viewers just like you. And if you do have additional comments or additional thoughts, please leave them in the comments section below, and let's come on with our next story. In a recent story, a question was asked, why did President Trump change his course on Venezuela and their relationship with Chevron, big-time oil company? And as fate would have it, there's a little bit more to the story than meets the eyes. We know, first of all, that Trump was okay with getting rid of Maduro, their current president. And let's face it, Maduro is not what we would call a freely elected official. He instead kind of came to power under some very, should we say, mysterious circumstances. But check it out. There are people right here in the United States that are of Venezuelan descent. They are conservatives, and they don't like the government down there in Venezuela. And so anything that would support Maduro and support his government, we can see that the Trump administration is really starting to soften on quite a bit, to the point that this big investment Chevron is making, well, they're about to turn the spigot to the oil off here soon. Let's follow the rest of this story. So the story really takes an interesting twist because Maduro is actually accepting the people we're sending back to Venezuela. Remember, there are people here illegally and we don't want them anymore. So the United States is sending them back in. Maduro is actually accepting these people back. So we would think on the very surface, this would be a reason to keep the oil pumping by Chevron, but there's a deeper part to the story, and the deeper part to the story is that people right here in the United States, the Venezuelans, once again, who have conservative values, really want to see this guy once and for all done with. Next story.
Ordering it short.
Rachel, the president's saying that more tariffs are coming?
Yeah, so you may remember the president threatened a 25% tariff on Mexico and Canada. The president announcing that those tariffs are now moving forward next week on March 4th. He's saying that those countries have not done enough to stop drugs flowing into the United States. It is notable, though, because Mexico has, in fact, extradited members of drug cartels, trying to show this good faith effort to stop this from actually going into effect. The president also noting that there will be a 10% tariff also slapped on China. Economists say this could drive up the prices on everything from cars to beer to avocados, George.
Yeah, we'll see how this unfolds next week.
Just when the tariff talk you thought couldn't get any more crazy, Trump is now going to throw an extra 10% on top of China, on top of all the tariffs they've already put on there. And we've been speaking about up to taxing their boats when they come to dock inside the United States, the tariffs that already exist, and now he's taken his game into another level because he's hitting China with another 10% tariff based solely on China's role in the production of fentanyl. And knowing that this is a significant problem in the fentanyl trade, and how that fentanyl seems to make its way here to the United States, whether it's through the Mexican border, whether it's through the Canadian border, or scary enough, maybe through our own ports of entry. This is an issue that's got to stop, and so he's looking for the people in China to take a much more aggressive stance. And I do applaud the president here because we don't need that crud flowing into the United States, and maybe more important, we don't need the lives of young people here ruined because of drugs, nor do we need the crime, the violence, and yes, the wasted human capital sitting in jail who are involved with this drug trade as well. Continue watching. This story deals with the incursion into the Office of Personnel Management. That is maybe the main central nervous system of the entire federal government employee system. And so with that, Musk's people have gone in there and gone through the databases and found a ton of information out, including all types of information about federal employees. And so, of course, this has created a considerable amount of tension. We're going to take a look at this in a little bit more detail because these people here inside the federal government are feeling like very, very threatened. And some of them, whether it's stuff on the surface, whether it's stuff that's been years and years in the making, we know that there has been a lot of things being shaken up, systems that are being torn apart, being broken down, and we don't necessarily have a good paper trail as to what exactly is happening. I know during the Vietnam War they made a quote, it didn't make a ton of sense, that we had to destroy the city to save it. And maybe this is the approach Musk is using inside of the federal government and some of these agencies. We had to destroy the agency to save it. Burn it down to build it back up. I don't know, but once again, every time a federal employee leaves their job or is thrown off their job, resigned from their job, downsized, whatever it is, we know that there's a certain amount of value that walks out the door. And make no doubt about it, these are many times really valued employees. I realize some may not be the best employees, but let's face it, the vast majority of people, I think, go to work and do their best job, and they want to make sure that they have pride and service and real meaningful fulfillment that comes from their job. Always finding a way to keep in the headlines. You gotta love this final story today. Donald Trump is signing another executive order to make English the official language of the United States. Now you might say to yourself, well, of course it's the official language of the United States, but I'm also aware, and maybe it's something I've seen over the past 25 years or so, the fact that there are more and more signs that are popping up, and they're in English and they're in Spanish. And of course, what I think the president's on about is, if you're here in this country, you must learn the language to be a functional part of the United States. And secondly, maybe it has a lot to do with the culture of the United States as well. The fact is, we don't want to lose our identity with all types of new people coming to the United States. Heck, we love immigrants. We love legal immigrants. But the idea is you become part of the fabric of this country, and that's really what makes America great. Hey, it's Brian at 360 Politics. Thanks again for joining us. Hit subscribe, hit like, and I'd love to see you in another video. See you soon.